Hello, welcome back. Coach Lexie here, Mission Mama Training with Coach Krys from Wulf Performance. And today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of finding your way, navigating your path through this field of exercise science, strength and conditioning, sport performance, health and wellness. As we've mentioned before, Krys and I have taken very different paths, but ultimately landed in the same space, which I think is really cool. So we'll talk, just do a brief recap of our experience and to where we are now, and then talk about what our road was getting here and what we tend to see or what knowledge we've gained and going through our experiences.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess I'll start. I had a very non-traditional route. I actually have two undergrad degrees. My first degree is in fashion merchandising and management, and towards the end of that degree, I was like, this is not what I wanted to do. And I actually got the bug of the gym and potentially being a personal trainer from one of my coaches. And the first thing I did was ask if I could shadow, which I think is so vital. If you're interested in a career path, go and talk to the people that do the job, because I think when you look at a job description, it doesn't paint the actual picture of what it's going to be like. Like, go check it out before you commit all this time and education to doing this field. So I did that first, and I just kind of caught the bug, and I studied and took the CPT exam. And for CPT, you don't need a degree. And then I did that for a few years, and then ended up going back to school for my bachelor's in exercise science, and then sat for my CSCS.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to backtrack a little bit further for mine. So my first exposure to strength and conditioning was I started resistance training at age 11 at Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, when they were still in Winchester, Mass. And I just loved training as an athlete. I was like, this is something I love just as much, if not even more in certain ways than my actual sport. And I just really enjoyed it. It was something that I looked forward to every single week, thought it was super cool. And when I went to visit URI when I was looking for schools, I knew I wanted to go to UConn, hadn't heard back from them yet. Knew I got into URI, had declared a criminal justice poli-sci major. And then when we went to for a freshman visit, not orientation because I hadn't accepted my acceptance yet, but just to learn more about the school and what you can, what the offers are, they were talking about kinesiology. And I was like, I remember sitting with my parents and I just started sobbing at lunch. I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. And my dad was just like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, that kinesiology thing sounded really cool. And I've always loved going to Boyles. I think I want to coach people. And he was like, all right, cool. So we completely shifted track. So just I think calling attention to if you're going into school and you don't really know what it's all about, that's still okay. Even when I finally did get to UConn, the way their program was structured at the time was you come in your freshman year as a pre-kinesiology major, and you don't declare your application to the Department of Kinesiology until I want to say second semester of your sophomore year. And then
Okay.
if you're accepted at that point, they had different umbrellas that you could fall under. So there was strength and conditioning, sports marketing, I think sports management, coaching, athletic training, pre-physical
Yeah.
therapy, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of different areas that you could fall within. And at that point, I knew I wanted to be strength and conditioning, and that was what I declared, and then continued my studies. And then after graduating, heading into my um career, I did pursue my master's. So I have my master's in kinesiology from UConn as well. I was a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach at UConn. And then I moved into my first position as an assistant strength and conditioning coach at Army West Point and then Brown University. It was when I was going into grad school that I got my CSCS. So I don't have any personal training certifications. I have my certified strength and conditioning specialist certification and a few others now that I've attained over the course of my career. And I generally look at certifications as like you've got to have one that's all encompassing to allow you to be the trainer or the coach or whatever it is, whether it be some type of personal training certification or strength coach certification. And then from there is kind of where I feel like it gets fun. You get to kind of like pick and choose the areas that you're interested, that you want to continue learning about and decide like where you want to invest your money um within this field. So that's something that I feel like has actually been pretty fun for me. Um, and then yeah, after I had my kids was when I decided to become a business owner, knowing nothing about business.
Now you wish you were the lawyer because
Yeah.
they make way more money. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point too, is like even if you graduate with exercise science, kinesiology, XFIS, there's so many routes you can take from any of those. And whether they end you up here where we are, or like in a lab, or working for a prosthesis company, or like making shoes for runners, like there's a
Yep.
lot of avenues you could go through. And like you said, I think with the certifications, it's kind of fun because you're talking to experts in the field. They're usually the ones teaching these certifications or these different things you can sign up for. So you kind of get more of a real world perspective on what it's going to be like to be in that area. So like I said previously, like I highly encourage you to like play around with it and kind of dabble, because there are so many areas of expertise, you like, even just age wise and population, and there's so many differences, which is fun. uh and going to these conferences and things, you meet people from all different kinds of fields.
Yeah, absolutely. And like right before we started this call, we were talking about me bringing in interns and like I've had like health science and nursing majors who are applying specifically to the strength and conditioning because they have interest in going into sports med later down the line. So like just seeing kind of like where students, mindset is and what they're looking for like right down the line. I think is just helping me too at this point in my career to like stay open-minded to like the next generation of like coaches, practitioners, so on and so forth. Because like you do want to diversify yourself within this field. You don't just necessarily want to be like the one trick pony who comes in, does their one thing. That's the only thing they do. And then like you stick to that. But if that's the person you are, like by all means, I just think that you're really restricting yourself in having that mindset. So I've actually really enjoyed seeing like all these different majors that I would have never thought would be interested in what like we have to offer. And I'm just like, oh, okay, interesting. Like that's kind of cool. Like we'll see.
it's It's actually very interesting you say that, because I was literally just talking to my client about this, and I think your traditional physical therapy, OTs, the the field is shifting, and it's starting to incorporate more of strength and conditioning and preventative care, and like how do we get to these patients before they're have a broken hip? You know what I mean? Like, how do we get there? So I think there is a shift in kind of what's going on in our field and in other fields that kind of relate to it.
Yeah.
So I think that is pretty interesting that you got interns from different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I'll add there, and just like this was a note that I feel like I learned when I was applying to different undergrad programs, is I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer because I thought an athletic trainer was the person who trains athletes. Right.
Right.
And
Yep.
I feel like that's still kind of unclear and maybe not necessarily like for people who are familiar with our actual um area of work. But for those like on the outside looking in, just starting to figure it out, um, it's important to clarify like athletic trainers traditionally work on the rehab side of things. So they're taking people who have an existing injury or are post surgery and helping rehab them on a return to play protocol. Whereas strength and conditioning coaches, we do assist in that process as they start returning to the weight room and getting back into lifting weights and keeping non-injured areas of their body strong during their rehabilitation process, but we predominantly work in the sport performance and preventative side of athletics. So we're like the first line of defense, and then you do your sport, and if an injury happens or issues are starting to come up, then you would go and work with athletic training, and their job is to help rectify the issue and get you back onto the field.
Yeah, and that would be like again to go back to like the shadowing thing. Even when
Mhm.
I first moved to Mass, I asked the high school athletic trainer if I could come in and just like um see like what they're doing and all these things. Like as an adult with years of experience under my belt, like you're never too old or too long in the career to see like what other people are doing. And most
Yeah.
of the time, if you just ask, they're fine with it. I mean, that's what I would do. If you're interested in a field, go shadow, go see what they do every day. Like it it costs you your time, but other than that, like it could save you thousands of dollars going for school that you're not even interested in the career when you get out. So I always highly recommend. My mom always like made us shadow, like when I was in middle school, I shadowed veterinary and I decided I didn't want to be a vet, and like it just saved myself all that money in schooling. So like go
Yeah.
shadow. And even I was
Yeah.
like, I'm planning a trip to come see Mission Mama to see what they're all about and see what they're doing now. Um, it's so important to like network and not only other strength and conditioning coaches, but other people in the field like athletic trainers or physical therapists or anyone else in the field. Just try different things, see different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your program actually called at Rhode Island College, and what is your degree in specifically?
So ours, I will say it wasn't the best program. From what I've been gathering from other people who had exercise science degrees, their program was a lot better. Mine was fairly new. It was the first year they separated from health and wellness. So it used to be health and wellness. Now it's wellness and exercise science. So you still have a piece of that wellness um, part to it. So like we had to learn how to write grants and public health for public health and like doing surveys and different things like that. So there was that piece of my degree. I think they were lacking in the actual strength and conditioning part of it, but it was brand new. So I went to Rick, um, and we were always compared to URI. So apparently their program was better. They have all the cool toys. We didn't have anything at the time. So,
Okay, all right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I feel like because I used to run the internship program at Brown too, and like students would come in and just like the the lack of science education, physiology, anatomy, exercise phys like always astounded me, and I just felt like it was like we're just doing a disservice to these students who are like saying that they want, to potentially be a strength and conditioning coach or do a strength and conditioning internship, but like the foundational science background and science knowledge is not there. And I just
right.
like I think that must, to me, that has to be a hurdle.
Yeah,
And I've had interns where like I just feel like I'm speaking a different language to them sometimes because like that doesn't exist.
yeah.
So like I think one resource that I would recommend personally to everybody, because like I've read it 3 times at this point in my career, cover to cover, and I could probably read it again, is the NSCA's Essentials for Strength Training and Conditioning.
Oh
And
God, the
that
book
I always,
it's
yeah,
gonna
you
haunt
used
me.
to. But like I
It's
always
under
tell
my
people, like,
desk
this is
right
your
now.
Bible if you want to be a strength and conditioning coach or even a personal trainer. Like I just think
Yeah,
having that extra layer of depth in your knowledge, like it can never hurt you. Um
right.
and I feel like every time I go back to that, like I learn something new or like am relearning something that I had before and then I'm like, oh, forgot
Oh
about
yeah.
that, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That might sound like a silly recommendation to some people on here, but I just think that's one that's like a holy grail kind of book. Like it just, I always reference it. I grab it to this day for like
Yeah.
max testing, for like load prescriptions and stuff like that, just as like refresher information for different people. I still follow their template for a needs analysis. Like I've used that to kind of build my own needs analysis for clients and stuff like that. I just think like that's like one of my, I will use this forever.
Yeah. I actually went to CCRI for a little while. That's where I took my A&P 1 and 2 and like some of my prereqs because I thought I was gonna be a PTA. And so I will say having the knowledge of being a personal trainer first and like working with clients and kind of getting where what people's bodies do and like different body parts. When I went into exercise science, I was like, oh wait, like I remember like this is like I've already been doing some of this, so like it
Yeah.
wasn't as a shock to my system. Like if you just come straight from high school into this degree program, it is very science heavy. And I think that does, catch people off guard because A&P is not exercise. First of all, anatomy physiology and exercise physiology are not easy courses. They're very difficult. There's a lot of memorizing, there's a lot of nuance. They're very difficult courses. So if you're like starting from scratch and you have like no idea, they're gonna be harder, I think. Um, so yeah, just keeping that in mind when you go in, they are very science heavy. So
Yeah.
be prepared for that.
Yeah. And I would also say like where you said nuance, like I always found like the gen ed, like anatomy and physiology to be very challenging for me because it was always applied to like a medical setting and we never
Yeah,
got the exercise side of things. And
right.
like
Yeah.
that would make it so much more challenging for me to like process and understand the information. So
Hmm.
I really didn't start like honestly excelling in those courses until I became a strength and conditioning major and got into XPhys. And then I was like,
Yeah.
this makes so much more sense.
Uh,
You know what I mean? Like I was just so much more
yeah.
interested in it. And I feel like for a while there, I was like, I'm not gonna like I don't know if I'm gonna get into this program. Like like I suck at this. But
Yeah, so
then
I
once
had
I
this
got like past the gen ed stuff, I was
right.
like, okay, no.
Okay.
We're cool. We're cool. I got this.
Yeah. I
So
specifically remember being in A&P and we had cats first of all for our like people, which cats have
have
like different
what?
anatomy. We had cats for our like cadavers. We didn't have
Yes, we
people.
did
We had
too. Yep.
cats. And so I specifically remember we had to like identify muscles, which
Yep.
by the way, when you have like a actual thing and not just like the diagrams, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was like, it's on the back side, like the delt, this has to be a delt. And like the only reason I was able to somewhat kind of know where the muscles were is because I had worked with people in like different exercises, like rear delt flies and like pec deck and like so that actually made a huge difference when I went into A&P because I had some sort of like, okay, this has to be somewhere in this
Yeah.
vicinity.
Yeah. Yep. No, I hear you. Yeah, I remember the cats very well. Um, Spent a lot of time with them in the lab.
Those damn cats.
Stray cats. Okay. So we talked about like our degrees, what we studied. So yeah, I was kinesiology and then strength and conditioning fell under that umbrella. And then my graduate degree is also in is also in kinesiology. But like we said, we're starting to see like a lot of different majors and everything show interest in this area of health and wellness. Um, so certifications for consideration. I think we talked a little bit about this, but I'll state like the ones that I have, and maybe like some ones that I would consider getting. So, the first certification I got was CSCS, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Then I did my Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coach Certified through Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association. God, this is
Yeah.
like a word jumble. Holy moly, so many C's and S's.
Yeah.
And then I did my USA weightlifting certification, which was probably one of the most fun certifications that I've ever done. It's
Yeah.
like one weekend, you go in, there is some classroom settings, but the bulk of it is just like throwing around barbells and helping coach people in technique and learning how to break down that technique in yourself. And I loved that certification. Um, and then I did my certified pre and postnatal coaching certification through Girls Gone Strong. Um, I will say, in terms of like my two, what I call main ones, CSCS and SCCC, I I liked things from both of them. But I felt like the physiology and exercise science portions, which were like your sit down exam, were very similar in information and things like that. I liked that the NSCA on the practical gives more like case study type situations. I found that like actually very challenging, like earlier in my education, um, and things like that, but like in a good way, and I can appreciate it now. But what I really enjoyed about the SCCC was that their practical is actually like, so you can register if they're still doing it the same way. You register for the sit down written exam at like any place that will offer it near you. And then you actually have to go to their conference to do the practical. And the practical is
Interesting.
in person. You get split up into groups. You're called in front of three master strength and conditioning coaches, and you're responsible for doing two things. One is demonstrating three different lifts. What I don't love about that is that you have to know how the CSECA wants you to coach those lifts. And if you're not getting
Mm-hmm.
those points, you're going to get knocked, um,
Yep.
which I don't think is fair because there's multiple ways to skin a cat, for
Yeah.
lack of better
Yeah.
term. Um, but I do like that they're actually forcing you to coach it. Whereas on the CSCS one, you're just kind of like showing a video and then picking out what was done wrong. Um,
Right.
and then the other thing you do is you are assigned a sport and a season, and you have to write out a full, I believe it's just a mesocycle,
Okay.
for that sport, and you send it in, and they'll have your program, and they'll ask you questions about it, and you basically have to like defend your program.
Oh, interesting.
So it's
Okay.
like very detailed. It's
Yeah.
very heavy on the sport performance side of things, on like volume intensity, prescription and control slash management. So I did really enjoy that piece of it. Um, and then yeah, ones that I would do, like I've always considered doing some type of like a functional movement screen or corrective exercise specialist, something like that. Because I think that's something I'd like to dive into deeper. People are like so unique that it's so hard sometimes to figure out like what it is that's impairing their movement or like getting in the way from, you know, getting out of the cycle of pain or being able to execute exercises more proficiently, leaking energy, so on and so forth. But that's why I like to keep my network open to a lot of different providers so that I can also like use their brain in combination with my brain. So that's kind of how I like deal with it right now. But yeah.
So when I first got certified, I did NSCA CPT. So through the same organization that does the CSCS, I did, it's just certified personal trainer. Like I said before, you don't need a degree. It's the same concept. You study a textbook, you take a test. And then once I graduated, it's funny that you said that thing about the programming because we had to do that in my strength and conditioning class for the whole year. That was like one of our finals was to write that. So um, you're gonna have that in there. So make sure you know how to do that. And then for the CSCS, I actually failed the like X Phys portion the first time I took it. Um, and mine was I have a hard time with like word like problems. So like they explain things and then you have to like do the math equation. I've
Yep.
never been good at those. So I did not pass the first time. I passed the practical part, which they also kind of like try to trick you a little bit where like it's like what's the best answer, not the right answer, because there's multiple right answers. So you just got to be a little careful when you're taking that.
Okay.
And then I passed the XFIZ portion the second time, which was fine. I will say the problem I had with like this whole process of like with my specific degree program and then going into just taking an exam with no actual real in life practical portion is like if you went to school I did, got the degree, and took the test, you could still not know how to do any of the exercises yourself. Like nowhere did we learn how to squat or deadlift, front squat. We didn't learn how to bench. We didn't learn any of the main exercises. Yet I could have studied for the test and took it and still passed, which to me is like there's holes in the system that should have recognize that there were those areas missing. I had learned previously because I had good coaches, but like I really would have preferred learning specifically how to do these and how to coach them and what that looks like. I think, that would have made a huge difference in just how I coach in general and how much knowledge I have. So I will say, doing like some extra workshops or things if your degree program doesn't cover those stuff is like essential.
Yeah, absolutely. We were fortunate to have a course with Coach Jerry Martin when he was the head coach at UConn. So like he coached our strength and conditioning exercise prescription class. So we were able to
Okay.
go into the football weight room and get coached by him and how to do. And I still to this day use he taught us G spas. It's grip, stance, posture, action, and spotting. So like I
Hmm.
still will use that to this day when teaching exercises and everything like that. It just gives you like that blueprint for like the order to go in, which I love. Um, so I remember taking that course, but like I think that's where what you said earlier in terms of like observation and shadowing comes into play and to not like take that take those experiences lightly. But to actually like pay attention, like I don't know if you heard this term, but like we used to be like refer to it as like being a glute ham guard because you just like go into the weight room and all you would do is stand next to the glute ham machine and like not move because you're just supposed to be observing. And like, but like I would stand there with my freaking notebook taking a million
Yeah.
and one notes and go
Yeah.
up to the strength coach at the end and be like, do you have any questions? Say yeah. And I'd go over all of them with her. And I really feel like it was that kind of like helped Mo have her, my mentor, have her like walls start coming down with me to be like, all right, she kind of is like paying attention to the right things and stuff like that. So, it's one thing to show up and just watch, but it's another thing
Right.
to show up and like actively watch and listen and learn and show people
Hmm.
that you're doing those things. And that's just going to open up the doors for more and more opportunities. So don't just come and guard the glute ham machine. Guard it and guard it right and like learn all the things, like know who's walking by it at what time, what they just did, so on and so forth.
Right. Right. And I think to like piggyback onto that too is like I pride myself and like look, I get it. Some people aren't going to always get along, but I pride myself on if I made a connection at some point in networking, if I had to go back to them for some reason, I don't have like this ill something towards them. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's not the way I would do something and like that's fine, but like don't burn bridges because you'll be surprised how often you touch into that network and you're like, oh wait, actually I have someone who used to do this. Let me see if
Yep.
I can connect you. So I just think like being having positive impacts and I know a lot of people I've listened to podcasts who are like experts in the field have a have an issue with interns asking stuff from them and not like not that you have to remember like they're giving their time to you and like offer to or just do it like clean up afterwards or like be some sort of help instead of a hindrance because they're already got a full weight room they're trying to watch and all these things like don't also take from them and not like give anything back like
Yeah.
see when you message people like see like hey I don't know if I could come in and shadow like I can help I don't know clean up afterwards. I can vacuum the floor. Like the turf always needs to be cleaned,
Yeah.
okay? So like just offer to do stuff. I don't know.
Especially when you have kids in the weight room who eat snacks on the turf. I love
There's
all the
always
kiddos who come
mopping.
into Mission Mama, but damn, those freaking Nature
Oh
Valley and Nutri-Grain bars make a damn
my god,
mess.
everywhere.
Well,
Everywhere.
I had my
Yeah, and
kids
I
with
think
me last week and they had
oh
Pringles.
yeah.
And Nathan
Oh
decided
god.
that it was a great idea to dump the Pringles out and step on them. I was
Oh
like
god.
right on the turf. I was like,
Perfect.
this was
It's,
not on my to-do list today.
this poor turf has had
But here
enough.
we are. But here we are.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that oh, I was just gonna add to that. Also, if you're like an intern or something, like expect to do the bullshit jobs and just do it. Like you may have to restock the fridge or vacuum or like clean the floor, like or re put all the weights back. Like it's
What's
part of
the worst
the journey.
intern job you had to do? Like worst intern responsibility you had to do?
I only had one internship, and it was like later in life, and I
Okay.
straight up was like, yeah, I'm not cleaning the fucking toilet, so get someone else to do it. But like I was older and I had already cleaned toilets, so I was like
Yeah, yeah,
past the
yeah,
toilet
yeah.
cleaning part. Um, no, like I was like the organizer, so like I had to move things. We had like bathrooms we didn't use, like single stall bathrooms. So we stored things in there and I was like, this is weird. So like I would be the one that like cleaned out all the storage and like organized all the racks and like I was like that person. I'm trying to think of like something horrible I had to do. I can't think of anything.
No.
I did have to vacuum and mop though.
When I
So
was at UConn, we had, I think it was Powerlift that made them. But we had these dumbbells and honestly, the design is genius. So like you have your set like 10, 15, 20, 30 or whatever. And then there's little disc attachments that slide right onto the end. And there's two magnets on the end of the dumbbell and two magnets on that attachment. So you put it on,
uh-huh.
you twist it, and once it twists and the magnets are not touching each other, it will not come off. So it won't fall off.
Oh,
You
okay.
got to twist it again to get the magnets to detach. Those things get so rusty. And especially when you are in a basement weight room with like zero air quality and purification, and it's just like poor freaking humidity uh control in the summer and everything. So like, oh my God, those things used to get so rusty. And we would have to take WD-40
Oh God.
and
Uh-huh.
spray them down and scrub them with
Nice.
steel wool or like a wire
Yeah.
bristle brush to get all the
Yeah.
rust off of them.
Yeah.
Man, my fingers would be like stuck like this, like little T-Rex fingers afterwards. Like I'd be like, I can't open my hands.
Oh yeah,
But you know what?
cleaning the bars.
But you know
Yeah.
what? My mentor used to come out and do it with us, and it's like you
Oh
can be
yeah. Well,
at
there
any
you go.
stage in your career, and this is still something that needs to happen. Weight room
Right.
management is part of the career path you chose. So, like, I
Hmm.
own my gym and I am a one woman show. You own your gym and you're a one woman show. Who's mopping your floors?
Yeah. Well, I try to make my kid do it, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it will always be a part of what we do. Like
Right.
making it look right, reorganizing, restocking, cleaning, disinfecting, like all this stuff. Like it's a pain in the ass, but like this is part of owning this stuff. This is part of working in this stuff. It's just a responsibility that is always going to exist. And all parts of the job are not fun and glorious parts of the job, but they are still
Right.
parts of the job. And nobody's going to want to come into your weight room if it's smelly, dirty,
Yeah.
and dusty.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be
Yeah.
like, I'll go find another place to go to. I'm not staying in here.
Right.
100%
Right.
because they're going to get some type of infection or
Right.
whatever, and it's just not going to be good. So you have to have a
Yeah.
clean facility. And if that's a job you have to do, then you are making a huge freaking impact in the
Right.
functionality of that space.
100%. Surprise, surprise. Still cleaning toilets.
Still clean the toilet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Toilet. Toilet.
So who's in your network? Who are the people that will
Um.
be in our network?
Wow. So I guess I would say like a lot of my colleagues I could call on for certain things. Like my coach, specifically, she's doing her PhD program in biomechanics. So if I need anything, she's the first person I ask because she's just like a dictionary. And then I have physical therapists. I have a registered dietitian that I refer out to because I'm not dealing with any of that. I actually, my cousin's wife is a psychologist that deals specifically with like eating disorders and relationship around food and things like that. So I refer out to her. If there's like something specific they want to do, like a Zumba, something that I don't do, we do have a community center that does like Pilates, yoga, and some other stuff. So I'll refer out to them. Um, yeah, and then if I don't know something, I go back into my network and my colleagues and I just ask like, "Hey, I came across this client. I have an osteopath I ask a lot of questions to. So we got doctors, physical therapists, colleagues in the field, registered dietitians, psychologists. I think that's it. It's big.
Yeah, uh, I second all of those fellow coaches, trainers, instructors in terms of yoga, different types of movement wellness, physicians, physical therapists, dietitians, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, licensed social workers. And then like I still very regularly talk with my mentors from my internships and from my schooling. So like I'm in continuous uh communication with them. My advisor from UConn, Dr. Kramer, I talk to him probably once a month, if not more. And I'm very thankful for those people because even though we are in very like different places in terms of like how we're practicing and what we're practicing, um, having the ability to reach out to somebody that like I trust deeply and helped me gain the knowledge and support and understanding to get to the point that I am right now. Like I know that they still have my best interest in mind when I'm reaching out to them, even though I'm in a different, place and space than I had anticipated, because a lot of those people are still in the sport performance world. And then I would say like some different ones to think of is like for me, like my business coach and my business community. So other fellow small business owners. If you are going a more entrepreneurial route or thinking small business or something like that. And then more like spiritual healing wellness individuals, like thinking like Reiki. I have somebody who was an athletic trainer, is now like a dry needling specialist. So just like acupuncture, different health and wellness that maybe isn't, the traditional thinking, but like more um all encompassing with like holistic wellness, I think can be really important and helpful as well when you're just trying to bring like, a community that's very inclusive.
Yeah, I would agree. Massage therapists, all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, where can you find opportunities? Um, well, one that we were just talking about earlier is Handshake. That's a website that I've been using for like interns, but also what is it? LinkedIn, Indeed, careers.com. And then also like your certifying bodies. So the NSCA will list internships, graduate assistantships, jobs. And then like that was where when I was a grad assistant at UConn, I was actually awarded that through the NSCA. So knowing that those different places will have like grants and internships and paid positions and so on and so forth, I think can be really important. And then potentially even like certifications, um, and those organizations for those certifications, so like USA Weightlifting, like their Colorado Springs headquarters, like they do internships and stuff like that. So those are other places that you can look for opportunities as well.
Yeah, I would say like my school had a list. I'm just assuming if you have to do an internship, your school probably has site lists. I picked outside of my site list, but yeah, just like check those out. Sometimes too, like uh speakers that speak at the certifications have things going on. Like Mike Boyle was actually one of the big ones people wanted to get into for their stuff, and Cressy, all those ones,
Uh-huh.
those big names. They do internship programs, and if you can get in, like that's
Yeah.
pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Even like you're kind of riding their coattails of what they've made out of themselves, which if that's what gets your foot in the door, that's what gets your foot in the door. You're gonna meet a lot of really cool people. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I interned at Mike Boyle's and a lot of the people that I interned with back in like 2011, 2012 are still working within the like Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning organization. So, I mean, longevity is definitely there and like, these places have built themselves into something that's very desired. So, I think those are great
right.
places to also seek out for um opportunities. Um, right, let's see here. A couple more. So, talk a little bit about like the expectation versus the reality of your uh getting into these spaces. So like I think a lot of times people feel as though you're gonna like walk in day one, like, flex your knowledge a little bit and like be coaching that day or within that week. And
Right.
like, that's probably not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of observation is typically going to happen. People need to build a strong um, layer of trust with you in order to, know that your knowledge is where it needs to be, your comfort level with cueing. And so, your ability to pick out things that are being done correctly and incorrectly are there. And no matter how much somebody needs help, like you are a reflection of that person giving you the opportunity. And so, like, it's almost like I have the opportunity to make a fool of myself if I'm not being selective and cautious with the people who I'm bringing into my facility. And same goes
Right.
for when people are bringing me into their facilities as well. Is that like at the end of the day, the person who your practices reflect, good or bad on is the person who's running the weight room. And so
Right.
people are probably going to be pretty cautious and selective in who they're allowing to do that. Um, I think I tend to have an issue with being a little too nice sometimes, if I'm being completely honest. But with that, I also tend to be reserved and like relinquishing all of that trust to people. So I think just be patient and understand that like no matter what, you're going to be able to put this opportunity onto your resume. Nobody can take that away from you once it is there. But in order for you to have like a really quality experience and be able to do the things that you're hoping to do, that you're expecting to do, you're probably just going to have to give it some time and also show that you're willing to do the not as glamorous things in order to earn your opportunity to do the more desirable things.
Yeah, I would agree. And to piggyback off exactly that is I think when you're young and you're first starting out, and I understand everyone's situation is different, but you have the luxury of time that as you get older and you have families and you have responsibilities or bigger responsibilities, you don't have that anymore. This is the time to spend 12 hours in the weight room. Like this is the time to like dedicate to learning as much as possible and just like pouring yourself into it because like you're probably not going to get this opportunity again to be like this kind of carefree where you can spend all day doing this. So really like soak it in and yeah, you're probably going to have to do things you don't want to do. But it's all part of it. It's all building this really good foundation so that when you are ready to be in that main role, like you feel more prepared. You've built that foundation. You know all the nitty gritty things that go into it. And some of these things aren't going to be paid. Okay, like that's the reality of the situation. Like, and none of my shadowing was paid. My internship was not paid. So I know the struggle is. I had my daughter during my internship, so I know the struggle is real. Um, but unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you want to look at this career path, that's kind of the way it goes. It doesn't generally pay that well in the beginning or even depending on where you go. So just keep that in mind that you're going to have to work really, really hard and probably a lot of hours, but build that foundation.
Yeah, like when I was doing my internships at UConn, they were 400-hour internships. So like this was
Yeah.
normal. It's not like I was not getting credits for this, right? Like it was I think like a 6 or 12 credit internship for my undergrad degree.
Yeah.
And I know not every person is doing that, but like that right there, like that is compensation. Like you're not graduating without those credits. And
Right.
I tell you, I put in far over 1,000 hours, like not hundreds of hours,
Hmm.
thousands of hours in the weight room. Like that is no exaggeration. Logged every single one of them, showed up, did the best that I could, and uh, and I'm also thankful for every single one of them. Like I basically ate, slept, breathed, lifted, studied everything in the weight room, but like it
Napped,
it's gotten me to
whatever.
some pretty awesome opportunities. So like it's
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And like if I could go back in time, I think that would have been one of the things I did more is like took the time to be in those spaces and to learn more in that pre-child like before my kid had you don't realize how much time you actually have and then you have a kid and you're like so like really soak it in and just like learn as much as you can learn because you're most likely not going to get that opportunity again.
Yeah. Um, where to go for opportunities, Gen Pop versus athletic populations. So colleges and universities, obviously going to be more athletics based, but then even so, um, Krys and I were just talking about how when I was at Brown, I was working in collegiate athletics. When she was in Brown, she was working in their recreation facility with general population. So there can also be Gen Pop opportunities at colleges and universities as well, high schools for sure. Any like summer clinics, conditioning
Oh,
camps,
those are
sport
good. Yeah.
camps, things like that You could also look into private sector. That's going to be something like Mission Mama is private sector. She Will Performance is private sector. Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning is private sector. Cressy Performance, those types of places. Some are going to be more sport focused. Some are going to be more general population focused. Um, then you have like your CrossFit facilities, which obviously they're doing very specific type of training, but that would also give you kind of like that hybrid of like general population individuals, but doing a little bit more like performance-based training, depending on where you're going to. And then you have like your bigger box gyms where you're probably going to see like that combination of like wellness instruction, like being a exercise instructor, Pilates, yoga, HIIT classes, kickboxing, stuff like that, versus personal training, kind of doing one-on-one stuff with people. Um, what others come to mind?
So I actually worked in a physical therapy office as an aide, and you don't need a degree for that. You're basically like washing towels and stuff, but you get the opportunity to be in there with physical therapists, ask them
Yeah.
questions, work with the clients. It doesn't pay great, but it's an option. It does pay,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. No, and I think that's a great thing too, because like again, like I said earlier, using other practitioners and professionals' brains to help, enhance your own knowledge and brain power, I think is like invaluable. So for sure, that was a great one to add in there. All right, and then the last thing I had was who's on your team? And I feel like we've really talked about this like throughout, like all of the people who have been there to support us and to help us along the way. And not to also discount like family, friends, community, um, your coaches, your teachers and professors. Um, Blanking out now. What other things am I missing?
um no, I feel like you covered it all.
You're getting to the tail end here. But yeah, so like I think the point is that like keep your community abundant, and those people are likely going to be your biggest assets when it comes to finding and navigating your way through this very large field of exercise, health, and wellness.
Yes, 100% agree. It's very large, but don't let that overwhelm you either. Like I think people think it's oversaturated. I don't think it is. I think everyone kind of has their own coaching style and their unique perspective or like their specialty. So I wouldn't say it's oversaturated because what you have to offer is going to be different than what I have to offer. We both train general pop, but our emphasis are different. So like even if you are in the same space, it doesn't mean you're going to be the same coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I hope that this helped everybody who's, maybe thinking about stepping in or into this field or trying to navigate their way through this field and still just starting out. As usual, always happy to lend an ear and share advice with anybody who wants to reach out personally. So I'll just state for the purpose of the recording, you can find me on Instagram at Mission Mama Training. And always please feel free to email as well. It's Lexie, Lexie, at missionmamatraining.com.
And so my Instagram handle is shewulf.life, and that's Wolf with a U. And then my email is shewulf.life@gmail. Same, Wolf is with a U. But yeah, if you have any questions and we can maybe help, we'd love to help.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.
Bye.